So probably 4 years ago, I started getting informed about the kukri blade shape because I'm in the landscape business and I do a lot of chopping. Roots, branches, saplings, trees. I also install fence, and a lot of the times you'll be running a line of fence, and you'll come up on an area where you're getting close to a tree, big trees especially, where you have roots that are in your path, where you're auging out your hole. And so I need solutions. I need tools that work. And I started researching, what can I have to help me through this to save me time and money and something that would be effective at eliminating this besides going out and buying a $65,000 skid steer and then spending an extra 3 to 5 grand on an auger. So something I thought would be a universal thing would be a good blade. And in blades, each different shape has its own purpose, has its own value. And I found that a good universal compromise for me would be the kukri blade shape. Well, I got my first kukri, and I actually got it at an auction. It was just some cheap kukri. I mean, it's probably 1095 steel. Said Marine Corps on it. I'm a soldier. But I'm pretty sure that the Marine Corps doesn't have any kukris in their SI bag. So, it's just like a novelty kukri. Maybe 11, 12-inch blade on it. Worked great. Had that thing for 2 years, beat the living hell out of it. And I realized that the forward shape of a kukri is something that in the blade world, as far as I know, is unsurpassed. I mean, you'd have to get, a wedge cutter like an axe or a hatchet or something along those lines if you were going to get an inanimate cutting object. So I got that kukri, used it. I ended up getting a cold steel Raha 2. I was down in Florida from Michigan because I snowbird. I go down to Florida every winter. I got a landscaping job down in Florida, and I literally cleared an 1.5 acres of dense Floridian underbrush with a Raha 2, 6-inch bladed, folding pocket knife. A pocket knife. And this thing did so much work, it was insane. I thought to myself, well, I'll use the hell out of it, and I'm going to be getting paid for this job. So at the end of the job, when it's junk, I'll just, buy a new one. Well, the Raha 2 had other ideas. It wasn't going nowhere. Fast forward 3.5 years, and I still carry the Raha 2 every day, occupationally. I use it for putting in between landscaping bricks and tipping it this way to either space them out or push another one in. Just stuff that no locking or no folding knife was ever designed to do. Just ridiculous work with this knife. And, having come up being a knife fan for years and years, I can assure you any blade that I've ever owned, and I've owned hundreds of knives, I don't care, Benchmade, Spyderco, take your, Puma, take your most expensive knife you can think of, something you would, spend $1,000 on, $2,000 on. They're junk. They are absolute trash. They are dog patch garbage compared to a $50 cold steel. There's nothing they can do. There's nothing they can do to compete with a cold steel. Expensive knives like Benchmade and stuff like that, they're for people in suits. They have an office job. Their hands are always clean. They have poopery that they spray in their toilet water. Those knives are for Benchmades and stuff like that. Those are for city boys. If you're a country boy and you have hard use, if you're a blue collar guy and you have hard use to put a knife to, better stay away from Benchmade because they're garbage. I mean, they're well-made knives. They're great craftsmanship. They're beautiful, but they're conversational pieces. That's all that they are. You can't get any work done with them unless you're opening letters or cutting boxes open. That's it. But if you have a knife you need to pound into a tree, move brick and rock and other things with, slam up against stuff, run it over with a 15,000-pound roller, you drop it off your dozer, your D6 cat, and it rolls in front of the tracks, you run over it. You pretty much only have one option as far as folders are concerned, and that's cold steel. And so I got this knife. It's a small knife. I said it's a small knife because I'm a man. So it's a 4.5-inch blade, and this is the cold steel Spartan. And I want to tell you what, this is a wonderful knife, a wonderful, beautiful knife. It's nice to handle. It has substantial weight to it. So if you're not a guy that needs to complain about carrying 10 ounces around because your twat gets hurt or whatever, it's got good weight. You can tell it's a quality, heavy product. Nothing at all to carry around. Doesn't drag your pants down or your pants are falling off. All this other nonsense that I hear. It feels like an American-made product, even though it's made in Taiwan. And my gosh, I'll tell you what, cold steel knives made in Taiwan, maybe not all the bells and whistles as far as cosmetic finish, but tolerances and stuff like that, I mean, gosh, they're right there with anybody. The States, Italy, Germany. It's good stuff. It's good stuff, y'all. But this is a kukri style knife. They call it the Spartan. Maybe, this part of the blade, whatever you call that, a swedge, whatever, I don't know. Might be a little bit of Roman influence, but it's a kukri blade shape. And I always wanted it because I thought, if I'm wanting to look like a city boy sissy and, put a suit and stuff on like that, this would be a good dress knife, for a guy like me. So I got this thing, and man, just putting it in my hand, it's absolutely wonderful. It's just a great feeling knife. Triad lock, of course. Thank you, Andrew Jemko. You are the greatest knife designer probably in history. And the blade shape is awesome. I like the fact that they beveled this out right here because it adds to the acuteness of the point without taking a lot of strength out of the blade. When you look at the tip, I mean, there's a lot of meat right down to the tip. And it's just, it's a really, really stout built knife. It has the Demco, I guess you'd call it wave, Emerson wave, Demco wave, whatever. But, thumb plate, whatever. But it waves right out of your pocket every time, as long as your technique is true. I've been carrying my Raha 2 for 3.5 years, so me pulling it out of my pocket, whether I want to have the blade deploy or not, it's a microsecond choice, and I nail it every time. It's just like second nature. But I've been literally carrying it, except Saturday and Sunday, every day of the week for the last 3.5 years, and it's just second nature to me. So this knife, if you need a compromise, if you don't want to carry a Raha 2, the Spartan is an excellent, excellent choice. Now, I will say, if you're a man, or if you're not a man, if you're like somebody who never gets his hands dirty, you might have voted for Joe Biden, you might have voted for any Democrat ever in the history of your life, and just get a butter knife and sharpen it up. You don't want one of Cold Steel's knives. You don't have enough balls for something like that. But don't be afraid to spend the minuscule amount of money and buy a Cold Steel Spartan. They are awesome.